How drunk do you think you are right now?
Well, today I had an entire bottle.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most outrageous moments that unfolded on the set of the sensational talk show Dr. Phil, whether they happened on screen or behind the scenes.
It's the first time in your entire life that a police officer has come in your room with a flashlight, looking around, and you still just stay in bed.
Number 20, Suzie and the Mysterious Illness. Suzie, a former actress and body double, came to Dr. Phil claiming a mysterious illness had taken over her life, one that apparently forces her to consume at least 7,000 calories a day just to function.
When I'm having one of my attacks, which, are really, really violent and really, really scary, I just imagine what my brother or my relatives think I'm doing in that moment.
She openly acknowledged that most people don't believe her. And rather than approaching the situation with even a sliver of compassion, Dr. Phil proceeded to berate her for the sometimes graphic way she described her condition. He then pointed out that other people have it worse.
I did a lot of my work in behavioral medicine at Southwestern Medical School in Dallas, which is Parkland Hospital. Mm-hmm. They have a child burn unit. Be children in there with full death burns over 70% of their body. That's catastrophic.
Sure, perspective is valuable, but publicly shaming someone who came to you for help, that's not therapy. That's daytime television using a struggling person as content. Suzie certainly deserved better than a lecture disguised as concern.
I'm really surprised that this is described by you as a mysterious illness, because it's really not mysterious at all.
Number 19, Mike and Kirsten's domestic nightmare. This one is genuinely hard to sit through. Kirsten detailed harrowing abuse at the hands of her boyfriend Mike, while he admitted to hitting her but framed it as self-defense.
So you say she has come at you, she has attacked you, and that oftentimes you have done what you have done purely in defense.
Yes, that incident, definitely.
Mike had already been arrested twice for domestic battery. While Phil McGraw did condemn Mike's actions, the conversation never fully addressed Kirsten's admitted violence with equal clarity. Instead, it became a chaotic back and forth where accountability felt uneven.
Somehow or another, you think that's funny somehow? Tell me what's funny about that. You just don't put your hands on a woman in anger. And anybody that does is a chicken coward.
In a situation this volatile, glossing over mutual violence isn't responsible television. It's a disservice to everyone watching, especially survivors of similar situations. The segment raised an uncomfortable question. Was this intervention or just dangerously messy conflict packaged as entertainment?
Is she a provoker? She may be. She may be poking you with a stick to get you to do everything you do. I don't know. But because you do the things you do, it overshadows everything she does, and she gets a free pass.
Number 18, Bailey's one-sided relationship. Somewhere between obsession and delusion lies Bailey's story. She'd developed intense romantic feelings for a woman named Jasmine, someone she had never actually met in person, and who had made it abundantly clear the feelings were completely one-sided.
This is so hard to talk about because it's been an 8-month-long experience, and I feel like I'm just being treated like I'm this ungrateful kid who doesn't work, who's in a fantasy world, who tells you what to do. And
Bailey had taken to interpreting Jasmine's tweets as hidden messages meant for her, and even drove out to find her. Alarming enough on its own, sure. But Dr. Phil's reaction made things worse.
I think we're just going to shut this down, because I'm not into all this melodrama and you playing the victim and everything. So you're saying the audience is making a spectacle out of you. That's not what I'm about. That's not what I do.
Visibly furious when Bailey suggested the segment had been set up against her, he actually summoned a producer on stage to defend himself, and then shut the segment down entirely when things got too emotional.
What is the rule with the producers here? You don't make deals for me, right?
That's right.
What do you tell people when they ask you what I'm going to talk about or not talk about or do or not do?
I always say I have no idea.
because
It's
you
up
don't.
to Dr. Phil, because I don't know.
It's jarring watching someone unravel while the line between help and humiliation blurs. Number 17, Treasure's deeply disturbing worldview. There's uncomfortable television, and then there's whatever this was. A guest named Treasure appeared on the show with the sincerely held belief that she was white, despite being a black woman, and used the platform to unleash a barrage of racist, hateful language toward black people.
My hair is so perfect, my skin isn't ugly, and I'm not fat also, which is also a really African-American thing. So, I'm just nowhere near like them. And plus, they're so thug and criminal that I can't relate.
She reportedly had the KKK's number saved in her phone. Dr. Phil's attempts to engage her resembled a debate more than an intervention.
I think you're confusing the concept of race and ethnicity, because race is really biologically determined.
I know I'm biologically white. I feel it through my veins and through my blood. I don't just think I'm white. I know that I'm white.
The cameras also followed her outside as she interacted with her surroundings, and her views didn't soften one bit. The whole segment feels like something ripped from a Donald Glover fever dream, except it was completely real, which makes it exponentially more disturbing to sit through.
Well, all the people here are Caucasian, so that's probably the reason why I most likely would fit in here the most, because, I also am a Caucasian person, and this is where I belong.
Number 16, Riley, the secret songwriter for Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift has an incredibly devoted fan base, but Riley takes things to an entirely different stratosphere. He didn't just claim to be obsessed with her, he genuinely believed he had written several of her songs.
When you wrote the song, were you writing it from her point of view? Were you writing it from your point of view?
Well, I think definitely from her point of view.
His parents appeared alongside him, hoping Dr. Phil could offer some clarity. Instead, the segment devolved into a circus, with Dr. Phil physically walking Riley around the stage to examine his sprawling delusion board, which mapped out his claims in exhaustive detail.
He says you lived 2 past lives and you reincarnated.
I have said that.
I don't know whether that's true or not.
Okay.
I know it's
fair
true
enough.
you said it. I don't know whether you've lived 2 prior lives or not, because I wasn't there, but I'm here for this one and you're wasting it.
Rather than steering him toward professional mental health support, the episode leaned hard into the spectacle. Riley clearly needed real help. A nationally televised tour of his conspiracy wall wasn't exactly the intervention his family had hoped for.
I don't want to minimize it either. I know he's charming. I know he's a chameleon. I know he can adapt to a situation. This is not my first rodeo.
Right.
Number 15, Burke Ramsay interview fallout.
For the last 20 years, I wanted to grow up like a normal kid, which does not include going in front of TV cameras.
But if you had answered the curiosity, might that have stopped it all?
To me, it seemed like it would rouse it all up again.
The tragic murder of JonBenet Ramsey in 1996 remains one of America's most haunting unsolved cases. In 2016, Dr. Phil secured a rare 3-part interview with her brother Burke, who was 9 years old at the time of her death. Rather than handling the conversation with the delicacy such a tragedy demands, Phil repeatedly pressed Burke on why he stayed in bed while his parents searched for JonBenet.
But somebody comes in your room with a flashlight and you never get up and say, what is going on here?
I guess I kind of like to avoid conflict, and I don't know, I guess I just felt safer there.
Burke's nervous smile throughout became tabloid fodder overnight, with many viewers interpreting it as suspicious. Burke later said he wouldn't do another public interview. Considering how Phil framed the conversation, more prosecutorial than empathetic, that decision is entirely understandable. The whole thing felt less like closure and more like exploitation.
Do you know the theories that they set forth in saying that your mom killed JonBenet?
I don't know the details, but I know the ransom note, they think the handwriting matched.
Number 14, Mother God and the Love Has Won cult. In 2020, Amy Carlson, the leader of the fringe religious group Love Has Won, Skyped into Dr. Phil's show at the request of her own family, who desperately wanted someone to reach her.
I did not abandon my children. I begged my angels I didn't want to leave. And they told me I had to go on mission. If I didn't do it, then no one else would. and I had to make a jump.
Calling herself Mother God, Carlson insisted she possessed supernatural knowledge and defended her group with complete conviction. It was clear she was unreachable.
I have reincarnated many, many moments. I was Marilyn Monroe, Joan of Arc, Jesus. Humanity's gonna trip about that because they always thought Jesus was a masculine.
Then, in 2021, law enforcement investigated Love Has Won for alleged member abuse. What they found instead was Amy's mummified body. She had been consuming colloidal silver as a supposed cure-all, which caused her skin to turn blue before she died.
You talked about her followers. They were so tightly wound, they were so involved in her, and they're now telling themselves that she's ascended, not that she's died.
Her story later became the subject of an HBO documentary. The Dr. Phil episode now serves as an eerie, heartbreaking footnote. Number 13, Tanya Ramirez's inappropriate relationship.
You had not had any sexual interactions with him?
No.
Had you flirted with him?
No.
Had you said you thought he was cute?
No. Not in that nature, like, oh, I think he's cute. I just said, oh, who's your friend?
Where do you even begin with this one? Tanya Ramirez was a 29-year-old teacher and coach in Corpus Christi, Texas, who gave her personal cell number to an underage student. That alone should have ended things. Instead, weeks of flirtatious texting followed, culminating in Ramirez inviting the teenager to her home at 3 a.m. The encounter became physical, and critically, the student had recorded video evidence, which he then shared with classmates.
You say you felt like you were set up.
Correct.
How so?
Well, the fact that he hid his phone, and then obviously as soon as it was finished, he distributed it to 11 of his friends. And then from there, it went viral.
On Dr. Phil, viewers were stunned by Ramirez's defense of her own actions. Then, to make matters worse, the student's mother publicly dismissed the footage as, quote, not that good, a comment that implies she had watched it. Truly, there are no words.
Dr. Phil, you know what I will say? I am sorry that my son ever met Tanya Ramirez. That's the only apology that she will get from me.
Number 12, Patricia's Web of Medical Lies. Patricia's appearance is one of the most jaw-dropping exercises in fabrication the show has ever aired. Her daughter Jessica brought her on to expose years of medical lies, and the claims Patricia had made were genuinely staggering.
You lost 100 pounds in 6 days. Does that make even common sense to you?
I don't know, I'm not a doctor.
Well, you don't need to be a doctor to know you can't lose 100 pounds in 6 days unless they're cutting off body parts.
She insisted she'd suffered 17 strokes, flatlined twice in a single year, and lost 100 pounds in just 6 days while hospitalized. She also claimed surgeons had removed her face, ear, and jaw. Oh, and she's a world champion dead weightlifter with 12 titles and cancer.
I have 12 titles in weightlifting, and I have cancer. I have had 17 strokes, brain surgery, plates in my head, pneumonia, collapsed lungs, and 2 near-death experiences.
Medical records told a very different story. While Patricia had undergone brain surgery once, it had nothing to do with cancer, and she reportedly walked out of the hospital on her own. She had allegedly used these fabricated illnesses to scam people out of money.
You said you didn't get a thing.
He didn't donate the washer and dryer for me because I had cancer. He donated it because I was a weightlifter, a relentless lifter who needed a washer and dryer.
Number 11, Todd Herzog's troubling intervention. Todd Herzog won Survivor China in 2007 through sharp strategy and social intelligence. Years later, his Dr. Phil appearance became infamous for entirely different reasons. Todd arrived for what was framed as an intervention for severe alcohol dependence, and he was visibly, undeniably intoxicated.
I'm okay, because I didn't know this was happening right now.
You're not okay.
No.
You said you're okay.
A breathalyzer was used on camera. Here's where things get disturbing. Todd later alleged that he had been given vodka and Xanax before the taping by show staff. If true, that transforms a troubling moment into something genuinely unconscionable. His follow-up appearance saw him brought out in a wheelchair.
When I drink, I drink. I don't mess around, and so I just reached out and I didn't know what to do because honestly, I don't want to die.
The framing was meant to convey rock bottom, but it played more like spectacle. Thankfully, Todd has since spoken about his recovery journey with honesty and resilience.
It kind of turned my thought process around. And it wasn't until like day 30 in treatment that I actually woke up and said, you are being given a gift here. Yeah. Accept this and take it and embrace it.
Number 10, Levi Johnston goes into uncomfortable detail.
Now, Levi says he takes fatherhood very seriously, and that's a side of him that nobody really gets to see.
If the name Levi Johnston doesn't ring a bell, then you might have completely blocked out the 2008 presidential election. Johnston was the two-time fiancé of Sarah Palin's daughter Bristol, who gained some infamy after news broke during the campaign that he and Bristol were expecting a baby and would be getting married. Post-election, Johnston milked his 15 minutes of fame. In 2012, he appeared on Dr. Phil for an interview that can only be described as painfully awkward.
This is a definite must. You know, the Carhartt bibs, just like Dad has. One of my best days, was the day Triple was born.
Johnston addressed claims he had stolen Bristol's virginity and denied the version of events that she had painted. Overall, this was a deep dive into really personal details that, frankly, none of us needed to know.
Yeah, I've actually heard Bristol say that she's going to find a new father for Trip. There will never be another father for Trip, and I'll make sure of that.
Number 9, Nicholas Brendan storms off set.
Dual diagnosis means that you're battling depression and are an addict. Depression is a real thing, and I was ashamed of it a little bit too.
Best known for playing Xander Harris on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Nicholas Brendan left the show with plenty of goodwill from fans. However, by the early 2010s, a string of public arrests left many worried about his well-being.
It truly was insane. There was no rational thinking behind that at all. Pretty much all these arrests were related to sleeping pills and alcohol.
In 2015, Brendan went on Dr. Phil to discuss his experience, but the interview took an unexpected turn. Rather than foster a supportive conversation, Dr. Phil seemed intent on shaming the actor. The tense exchange lasted all of 4 minutes before Brendan decided he had had enough and stormed off the set.
You were at a bar last night.
We're done. I'm not doing this.
And
thank you, though. Thank you.
He, however, returned to the show a few months later after spending time in a rehab facility. Sadly, in March 2026, Brendan passed away in his Indiana home of natural causes. Number 8. Eric Roberts' testiness.
We discussed that we leave out Julia and Emma because they have lives that they didn't ask to be on the Dr. Phil show.
Oscar-nominated actor Eric Roberts may not be the most recognizable face in Hollywood, despite starring in more films than most. However, his family connections are quite famous: his sister Julia and daughter Emma. Nevertheless, Roberts hasn't always had the best relationships with them over the years.
You did take the opportunity in the book to publicly apologize to your sister Julia for saying, if it wasn't for me, there would be no Julia Roberts. Why do you think you said that?
By the time of his 2012 interview on Dr. Phil, though, things had improved, and he wanted to avoid discussing them to keep it that way. But after he objected to Dr. Phil bringing the two ladies up, Robert's wife, Eliza, stepped in to call him out for being, quote, testy.
I worry when he's just like that in the world. I get very, very worried.
The entire response, treating Roberts like a child and referring to him like he wasn't seated right beside her, felt both bizarre and patronizing. Number 7. The exploitation of Shelley Duval. Sometimes celebrity interviews on Dr. Phil can be strange. Other times they're just downright problematic. Case in point, the late Shelley Duval. In 2016, after years away from the public eye, Duval appeared on the show, revealing signs of mental illness.
I knew Robin and I was sorry when he died. That was a sad day.
I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, you don't think he's dead?
No.
One would expect Dr. Phil, as a psychologist, to address the problem and provide meaningful help. Instead, he seemed more focused on Duval's bizarre claims, in a way that felt exploitative and deeply uncomfortable to watch.
You think this is happening to other people too?
That's how they said that. The blonde lady.
That's who?
The blonde lady that works for you.
Sarah?
The host was rightfully criticized by many in the industry, but he has expressed no regrets about the interview. In fact, it turns out that he had even considered bringing Duval back on the show, but thankfully she declined the invitation.
We worked with her family. We worked with her for over a year off camera after that fact.
Number 6, Zachary Davis's disturbing interview. This case is sure to leave anyone horrified.
Did you kill your mother?
Yeah.
You killed your mother.
Back in 2012, Zachary Davis, then a teenager, ended his mother's life and attempted to do the same to his older brother by setting their house on fire. The tragic incident occurred in Hendersonville, Tennessee, but it gained national attention in 2015 when Dr. Phil interviewed Davis on his show.
When did you decide to kill your mother?
I decided the day I did it.
Throughout the interview, Davis maintains a flat, monotone voice, completely devoid of emotion, as he goes into disturbing detail about the murder and his reasoning behind it. At one point, he even laughs slightly while reflecting on the incident.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Way bigger than a hammer.
2 months after the interview was taped, Davis was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Number 5, Anesca's troubling antics. Speaking of violent minors, Dr. Phil also featured a young girl named Aneska on his show in 2016. While she comes across as innocent, Aneska was actually a lot more frightening.
Hurt them, I'll threaten. One time, they made me really angry, and I chased my siblings around with a knife.
She had begun exhibiting violent behavior from a young age, including deliberately killing the family's pet hamster and a nest of birds. During her interview, Aneska remained eerily calm as she recounted these actions, which understandably had made her family feel unsafe.
I remember where I did it. It was in the living room.
Was he smashed?
Yeah, he was gone.
Many viewers were disturbed not only by her chilling claims, but also by Dr. Phil's decision to showcase her on TV, rather than get her the help she needed. Fortunately, it appears Aneska eventually received the necessary support, as she seems to have transitioned to a relatively normal teenage life.
I am doing great. I've held a job for 3 years. I have a great relationship with my mom and my dad, and as well as my siblings too.
Number 4, Peyton and her bigoted father. Dr. Phil has often been criticized for pushing vulnerable guests to the brink purely for entertainment, but some guests bring their own controversy without any pushing needed.
My dad has called my son a critter, a monster, a creature. He told me I was growing an ape inside of my body.
In this episode, a lady named Peyton attempted to reconcile with her father David, who was a member of the KKK. David had been imprisoned for trying to destroy an abortion clinic, and while he was behind bars, Peyton had a biracial child.
He found out I was pregnant with a biracial baby.
This caused a rift between them, as David cut Peyton off due to his racist beliefs, leaving her feeling abandoned. His brazen ideologies and the way he speaks so disparagingly about his own grandson, despite being a convicted criminal himself, is enough to make anyone want to turn off the TV immediately.
One drop of non-white blood, it ceases to be human, and since it's not human, it is not my grandchild.
Number 3, delusion at its finest.
I met Tyler Perry through his official Facebook account. Tyler was a complete gentleman with me.
In 2018, filmmaker and playwright Tyler Perry was in a relationship with his longtime partner, Galila Bekele, with whom he shared a child. Meanwhile, miles away, a woman named Carla was fully convinced she was married to Perry, despite never having met him in person.
Approximately 2 years ago, he asked me to marry him. I told him yes. It makes me ecstatic just knowing that I am the wife of Tyler Perry.
Concerned for her well-being, Carla's daughters brought her to Dr. Phil after she had been scammed of nearly $100,000 by someone pretending to be Perry online. Yet absolutely nothing could shake Carla's belief that she hadn't fallen for an imposter. She even believed she was the mother of Perry's child, despite acknowledging that she never donated her eggs.
I don't know how that would be possible. I didn't donate any eggs to a clinic. The blood that runs through that child's veins is mine.
While it may be easy to mock her, at its core, Carla's situation is deeply tragic. Number 2, toxic workplace allegations. Ellen DeGeneres was not the only daytime talk show host to face allegations of fostering a toxic workplace. In 2022, she was joined by Dr. Phil.
A dozen current and former employees have come forward alleging toxic workplace behavior on the set of Dr. Phil.
Several current and former employees of his show claimed they had experienced a hostile environment rife with fear, intimidation, and racism. Although fingers were not pointed directly at the host, staffers named the executive producer and implied that Dr. Phil was aware of the issues.
Executive producer Karla Pennington screamed, swore, and suggested she would fire people in the show's control room, with one employee saying it was traumatizing. It was the worst hour of your life.
They also claimed producers encouraged them to exploit the guests in their worst moments and discouraged them from booking people of color. Although Dr. Phil and the producers vehemently denied the allegations, the controversy may have contributed to the show getting canceled about a year later.
I've been very blessed. I think 20 years, who gets to do that? And I really look at it with great humility.
Before we continue, check out this single from MsMojo's album Balance. Classical music reimagined as rock, hard rock, and metal. Check out the full track and album below.
Number 1. The Turnabout Ranch controversy.
We think it is long overdue for Turnabout Ranch to be held accountable for what happened to Hannah when she was there.
One of the most frequent types of guests on Dr. Phil are troubled teens, perhaps the most infamous being Danielle Bregoli. If you're wondering how the show helps these teens afterwards, the answer is often sending them to Turnabout Ranch, an isolated clinic in Utah, to sort out their issues.
She says while she was at the ranch, she was not properly protected.
At the ranch, I was alone and isolated from all of my family.
However, in 2021, Hannah Archuleta, a former guest, alleged that she was sexually assaulted by a staff member at the ranch and sued Dr. Phil for pressuring her parents to send her there. Bregoli later backed up these claims in a shocking video, alleging that she had a similar experience at the facility.
They had no problem holding kids down, which is against the law. You're not supposed to touch the kids, but they had no problem doing that.
These allegations were denied by the Turnabout Ranch, and Archuleta's lawsuit was ultimately dismissed in 2022. Did any other Dr. Phil moments make you cringe? Let us know in the comments.